Aaron.
Yeah.
Why didn't you say it the first time I said Aaron?
Because it's pronounced Aaron.
You done messed up, Aaron.
Aaron is here, everyone. Thank you for joining me for more SPTV, where every day is a great day not to be in a cult, and every day is a very bad day to be Danny Masterson. Woo! Guys, 3 days ago, some news broke on a very popular YouTube channel. I'll share this with you here. JD Delay. JD has a popular channel in the genre of former felons or former convicts who are well, let's see what his channel says here. If I can click on this, from career criminal to recovery coach, straight talk about addiction, incarceration, crime, recovery, and redemption. I mean, that'll sound familiar to you. Channel favorite Tommy Scoville on the Lifeboat channel occupies the same genre on YouTube and does a fantastic job doing it. Tommy also did a video about the information that broke on JD's channel. So you can check that out. I think Tommy did his video yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. In preparation for this video, because I've received so many texts and messages and emails about this info regarding Danny, and it turns out all of the info, all the videos that I have seen on YouTube, all the channels that discuss it, it all goes back to the information that was broken on JD's channel. Now, there's a lot of very salty and spicy and saucy language that is used in this video. So I've chosen some very specific clips that I think are within the bounds that I'm going to share with you guys on what exactly is happening here. Before I share this with you, the information that JD breaks on his channel in turn comes from a friend of JD's named Andy. And in the interview that JD did with Andy shouted out a couple of his socials. So I'll just share those with you now. On Instagram, Andy is Andy Fresh Out 916. And then on TikTok, Andy is First Day Out 916. As you can see, I'm trying to give this video a little bit of an intro because, like I said, the language involved is spicy and salty. And by way of some even additional intro, I want to share with you guys a text message that I received from a friend of the channel, Russ. Russ, forgive me. I can't remember if you publicly use your last name, so I'm not going to use your last name. But Russ texted me on Friday and said, I just saw your Danny transfer video. I did almost 3 years in Corcoran. And trust me, Corcoran is a very dangerous prison. Even if Danny is in a sensitive needs yard, which, guys, to my understanding, is synonymous with protective custody or PC. Even if Danny is on a sensitive needs yard, Corcoran has it's a very dangerous prison, even if he is in a sensitive needs yard. Corcoran has long-term security housing units, the SHU, Security Housing Unit. And the yard time for them is spent in a 20-foot by 30-foot cage that only one person can be in at a time. He says, guys, this is a prison where Charles Manson spent time, and the guys on the yard got to Manson by throwing gas on him and lighting him up in his cell. He says, I was at Corcoran when Charlie was there. Just remember, anybody can be gotten to, so it will happen. That was from Russ, and that was before any of this information came out from JD. Now, this can be a sensitive conversation, right? Because a lot of people have said in my comment section that they think I am glorifying or advocating or cheerleading for something happening to Danny in prison. I guess I can understand why people would feel that way. I was going to say that's not what I'm doing, but even if that's not what I'm doing, I guess I can understand why people would feel that way. I guess when something is kind of personal, like I personally know many of the women that Danny attacked. I personally know how how to say that he showed no remorse is an understatement. I personally know how far Scientology went to threaten and silence the victims. I know how Danny took advantage of that to continue to harm and abuse women. It's disgusting. It's hard not to sort of reflexively cheerlead for some bad things to happen to Danny. That being said, here's what I'll say. If like when we personalize it and we talk about one Danny Masterson, sure, I'd like to see things happen to Danny. But at the same time, I'm also willing to acknowledge that the fact that our prison system is in a state where prisoners, when they're sentenced to sentences, their sentence ends up being a lot more than their sentence because they're sentenced to an environment where they can be subjected to harm. I can agree and acknowledge that that is a failure of our system. Do you see what I'm saying? I wish our prisons were set up in a way where if you were sentenced to a certain sentence, that is what you were sentenced to, and it wasn't all the other threats of personal harm and violence and all that stuff. Anyway, I'm being a little long-winded about this, guys. I'm being a little long-winded about this. But anyway, so let me, I am going to share this part with you now. Share this tab instead. Let's hear what JD and Andy have to say. I've got it queued up. I'm going to play you. This is going to be about a 2.5-minute clip that we're going to play here. So here we go.
Andy here with us. Andy has done a bunch of time in the feds, and he has a lot of connections throughout the CDC, the California Department of Corrections, and he actually knows some people that are on the yard at Corcoran right now. Welcome, man. Thank you for talking to us today.
Hey, thanks, JD. I'm glad to be here.
Right on, my man. So it's my understanding that you have actually talked to some dudes out there and that there is a gang that has already put a green light on him. Can you tell us what gang that is?
Yeah, so I was speaking with a friend of mine who's pretty high up in the gay boy gangsters. This is a PC gang out in California. That means they don't walk the mainline yards. They kind of have a lot of stroke within those prisons, and they kind of take care of a lot of the garbage that us, like you and me, walking mainlines can't get at.
So they are a gang that's in special needs, and they're sort of ostracized for being gay, but they still handle business and take care of, chomos and rapists and stuff like that?
Correct. So they started on the mainline years ago. And of course, down the road, some politicking happened. They lost the popularity contest, and they got taken off all the yards. But just because they got taken off the yards, the only reason they got taken off is because they're homosexual. And they really have morals and standards. They don't like sex offenders, either rapists or child molesters. They're not cool with snitching. So like, it's almost like a mainline gang over there in PC.
Okay, so they're still G'd up, bro. They're just gay.
Yeah.
And they got ostracized because of that.
For sure.
So what do you think they have planned for Danny?
So what I'm hearing is that they already have some hitters lined up. When they found out he was coming to Corcoran, these guys, somebody that high profile comes through with that kind of case, they want to have it ready to go. And what I'm hearing is they have a plan of action that they're going to take.
So it's an already decided type of green light, but it's not on site for everybody. They have designated hitters on this.
Right. Exactly.
Okay. And do you think?
Okay, good. We're going to pause it right there because the language after that gets extremely spicy as far as what's going to happen. Some of the information that was explained in some of these videos is that currently, right now, the entire California state prison system is on lockdown. There was an uprising. One of the videos I saw said it occurred in the Ironside prison. In a Google search, I could not find an Ironside prison in California. I could only find an Ironwood prison. So I'm not sure what the truth of the matter is, but there was an uprising of about 200 prisoners. What's been reported in some of the channels that I watched is when an uprising like this occurs in a California state prison and the prison gets locked down, every state prison in the state gets locked down. That applied, and that this occurred about 3 days after Danny arrived to Corcoran. So currently, the prison where Danny is in is on lockdown. The word is that once this lockdown comes, is unlocked, lifted. Once the lockdown is lifted, orders have been issued. Orders have been issued and tasks have been assigned. Now, one of the things that occurred to me is, does information like this being made public, right? So Andy is saying that his contact inside the yard in Corcoran has said that this gang has greenlit Danny and duties have been assigned. Does making this type of information public make it less likely that such a plan would be successfully carried out? Does it increase the responsibility on the administration at Corcoran to put Danny into extra protective custody? I mean, is that a thing? Do they put him in full-time solitary confinement? And even if they do, they can't do that forever, right? But doesn't it make one of the things that Tommy's explained in the videos that we've done together is that the administrations of these prisons, they are accountable to people. They are accountable to people above them. And that very bad incidents occurring to very high profile people does make the prison and the administration look very bad. And and that the administrations are incentivized, at least, to make sure very bad things don't happen to very famous inmates. And yet it just seems that if you've got someone like Danny Masterson serving 30 years to life in your prison, you cannot keep him totally protected. And that has also been the theme in many of the chats that I've had with Tommy. People hear that someone's in protective custody or they're in a sensitive need yards, and they think that you're safe. And Tommy's pointed out there's no such thing as safe. These protective custody yards, these sensitive need yards, are filled with hardcore killers and gangsters. And that they're put in these yards for specific reasons, but it doesn't mean these people aren't dangerous and that you just can't keep someone safe. And yet there's a part of me that still, there's a part of me that does think there's no way making this information public doesn't at least put the administration on guard and go, okay, well, we've got to do something, right? We've got to do something. Okay, so let me jump ahead real quick to 9 minutes and 23 seconds, where JD gives his own personal perspective on this idea of condoning violence in prison. So let's hear what he has to say.
Now, I just want to make it clear that I don't condone sexual assault in prison, just like I don't condone it anywhere else. But if you got yourself into prison by doing unconsensual things to other people, I'll be damned if I don't look the other way, homie. I'm not going to get involved. So if them dudes is going to be taken from Danny Masterson, it's none of my business or any other solid dude on that yard's business. He has what he has coming. That's just the politics and how it goes down in there sometimes. Yo, I want to thank you.
All right, there you go. Spoken from someone who knows what he's talking about. We can all sit here and go, geez, I wish bad things didn't happen to people. You know who else wishes bad things didn't happen to people? Every single person Danny Masterson victimized. Now, again, it's just going to sound like I'm still cheerleading for something bad to happen to Danny. I don't know. I guess I'm trying to straddle this fence really, really hard. Reminder to everybody. Danny Masterson might have been convicted for crimes against 2 women. Danny Masterson has committed crimes against, 10 to 12 women that we know of in multiple decades, in multiple states, in multiple countries. The fact that he was found guilty beyond a reasonable doubt on charges against 2 women, that just happens to be. Like many of the women who testified against him, he wasn't even charged with. Kathleen Jenkins from Canada. Trish Vesey. Danny wasn't even charged with crimes against those women, and yet they showed up to court to testify against him. There's so many other women we haven't even heard from, women who are still in Scientology even. So we don't have to cheerlead for anything to happen, but we don't have to cry for him either. You know what I'm saying? All right, let's see, guys. What do we have here? Laura Fond sending a super to waste time. Well, thank you for wasting time with me, Laura. I appreciate it. Guys, I got 2 more live streams I want to do today. One of them is going to be a live stream regarding Grant Cardone with a special guest. Another one's going to be a live stream with my lawyer friend, Zach. And so stay tuned for that, guys. Thank you for hanging out with me. Thank you, as always, to everyone who watches until the very end. And I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, if you want to see my rock and roll songs, click right on this guitar. And if you want to see a different one of my videos, then you could click right inside here. If you have subscribed or not, subscribe